You're listening to This Week in the World of Football, which is coming to you from the fabulous World of Football Man Cave, located in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. The purpose of this podcast is to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. The intent is to educate, inform, and entertain you, the listener, with the glorious buffet that is the world of football, while also keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. You can find this show on a multitude of podcast platforms as well as on YouTube. Timestamps are provided in the show description, so you can jump to the topics you really want to listen to. So without further ado, let's kick off this week's show.
Hello again, everyone. This is episode number 392 for May 7th, 2025, and I'm your host, Randy Snow. On this week's show, the NFL fined the Atlanta Falcons and their defensive coordinator over the Shedeur Sanders prank call during the NFL Draft. The CFL Draft took place up in Canada, and former NFL head coach Jon Gruden joins the Arena Football family. But I'm not here all by myself. Across the table from me, as always, is my son, Adam.
Hello. It's weird recording on a Wednesday. My whole week's thrown off.
Yeah, I was thinking that yesterday was Wednesday, but because we weren't recording yesterday.
Right.
So it was, that was weird.
No, it was announcer lady's birthday yesterday, so we went and got tacos, and I gave her presents, and we just chilled. So
good.
Dedicated the night to her. No football whatsoever. The closest was her favorite player is Alex Anzalone from the Detroit Lions.
Yep.
So I used his jersey to cover up a couple of her gifts instead of wrapping them because I was that lazy. And she actually turned 34 as well. So he wears number 34. So I thought it was apt to do that.
I see. Okay.
Yep.
Hope there's no fallout from that age reveal there. All right. We not only
she doesn't listen to the show. Well, actually, if she hears me editing, she'll hear it. So I could screw myself.
Yeah, probably. Let's see. Not only do we have this weekly podcast, but we also make YouTube videos. And we currently have over 550 videos on our YouTube channel.
Are they all good? I don't know.
Well, go check each one of them out and let us know. Let's see. Our most current one being our AF1 Week 8 recap that was posted just a few days ago.
Yeah, a couple days ago now.
Yep. And for upcoming videos, we have our Week 9 recap coming up next week, which we might. They got a game on Monday night.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, it's hard to say when we'll get to that.
I'm thinking maybe we'll record that one on Wednesday.
I mean, we could.
That
if
way
we
won't
to.
have to do this and that on.
Yeah,
Tuesday
we'll have to see how things shake out. I mean, if it's doable, we could do it. But I'm down for whatever. We'll keep everybody.
We'll play that one by ear. All right. Well, let's begin our weekly tour around the world of football, and we're going to start off this week with scores from Arena Football 1. This was Week 8 in the AF1, and it started out on Saturday with the Southwest Kansas Storm defeating the Billings Outlaws 49-31. You saw most of this game, didn't you?
I saw a bit of this game. Very curious because during the week they picked up some of the players who fled from Corpus Christi.
Well, they were booted out of Corpus Christi.
Well, I think they wanted to leave, and then they got their release. So,
whatever.
Darius Prince obviously is the biggest name of the three, and I think Dwayne Hollis. I don't have the picture in front of me with his name. They picked up three big guys from Corpus Christi that came. I mean, it didn't help them in this game, obviously, because they lost 49-31.
Right.
But
good close game. We kind of expected this.
Yeah, but there's another. We figured they were a quarterback short, and we'll talk about that bit in a little bit. Because that kind of came out after we got done recording that show on Monday.
Yeah.
So, look, Billings is in a tough spot. Not a terrible spot. They could still turn their season around. We're about the halfway point of the AF1 season. So, for Billings, I mean, everybody's kind of surprised. They're on a 4-game losing streak. Who had that, on their AF1 bingo card this
After
year?
Starting out 2-0? No.
I didn't. And then there's news out of with the Storm, which we'll also talk about. Their quarterback, Jalen Morton's been having a heck of a season with the Storm, and so I think a lot's going to be in flux now. And like I said, we'll get to those news stories in a bit. But for this game, though, Southwest Kansas just looked like the better team overall.
Yeah, I mean, Billings scored early, and they were up 7-6 at the end of the first quarter. But then the Storm were up 29-18 at halftime. They were up 36-18 after a pick-six interception off the rebound nets that was returned for a touchdown.
Heck of a highlight,
Reggie
that was.
Bracey. Yeah, that was awesome. Southwest Kansas was then up 43-25 at the end of the third quarter, and each team scored just 6 points in a sloppy fourth quarter, and that was all she wrote for Billings in that one. Southwest Kansas comes up with the win. All right, on Sunday, it was the Albany Firebirds over the Salina Liberty, 64-58 in overtime, the first overtime game in AF1 history, going back to just this season.
Oh, I know.
But 122 combined points, the most in the AF1, of course. And we got to learn about sudden death in this game.
So did the referees, apparently.
Evidently, sudden death in the AF1 consists of the first team to score wins, and you could win on a deuce. And that just seems odd to me.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it's first team to score, they might be changing that according to
according to Steven Titus, who was on our friend's show, the AF1 Fancast on YouTube, and where else you could find Tim Capper. Was.
If you got nothing to do for 2 hours, go ahead and listen to that.
It was a great show.
It was very good. But still, just under 2 hours.
Tim messaged us like, "Hey, you guys should check out our show. We got a lot of good information." And I was like, already planning on listening to it.
Sure.
Like, Tim, I'm already going to listen to your show, bud. Like, you don't have to sell it to me.
Right.
So they did it all. They did a great job. Him and Slasher did a great show. Great show. Great questions. But Steven Titus is a good interview. Like
he's an open book.
He's a very open book, and obviously because of that loss, and we're sidetracked a little bit. He put out his kind of a lot of his gripes and thoughts about his team and all that situation. We kind of go in depth on that on the main video, so go check that out. We won't rehash that here, and go check out his interview with the AF1 Fancast that they did. It's some good stuff. A lot of stuff in there. But yes, so back to the overtime rule. I thought it was a little nuts. There was a lot of strategy to it, I think, but there was a lot of confusion during the game because they get to this overtime period. And I want to talk about the full game itself, too, but the overtime was so crazy because I was like, all right, what exactly happens? Right. And it's sudden death, like you said.
Yep. It's only a 5-minute period.
Yep, 5-minute period.
Which is perfect. I like that.
Yep.
And with 1 minute and 54 seconds left in that overtime period, quarterback Sam Castronova found Isaiah Scott in the end zone for the game-winning touchdown.
His 9th touchdown of the game, by the way.
And that was after Salina had the ball and went 4 and out.
Yeah.
And you got to at least attempt a field goal.
If they make that completion because it was a 4th and 2, and they threw like a quick little quick out pass, but the shout out to the defensive lineman for Albany for reading it, getting his hands up and batting that ball down. You get that play, maybe that keeps that drive alive for Salina, and we're talking about a different outcome, but at that point, I probably would have gone for the field goal even then.
Right, yeah.
But even before regulation ended, I thought there was an opportunity for them to kick a field goal to at least try to get the win in regulation. But no, so yeah, overtime was crazy. They talk about changing those rules, which I think they should. I think some tweaks there would be good.
Yeah.
But this game overall, though, was the game of the year for me. I watched this from kickoff to overtime, and this game was awesome. It seemed like every possession, if I can recall correctly, every single possession ended with some sort of score, with the exception of maybe one where the Firebirds could not convert, and they went 4 and out or turnover on downs. I can't remember. It was a fumble. That's what it was. A fumble at the goal line. Okay. Salina got it back, and that kind of got Salina back in the game. But Salina never once had the lead. It was a bunch of ties during the game, but they never took the lead at all during this game. And it was just a great game, and it just goes to show you how Salina's adapted over the last few weeks. Coach O with Salina, it seemed like I didn't think he understood how the arena game was played, but these last few weeks, he clearly gets it. He got his quarterback, and he seems like he's figured out how exactly you do this arena game, which I think is great for the league. The kicking overall has just been so great. But the Firebirds obviously are the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
Yes, they have the best team, but they're also paying the most for their players, which is not a surprise. They have a heck of an organization, and they got a lot of stuff going for them, but the fact that Salina came this close makes me excited that, okay, maybe the Firebirds won't exactly run away with a championship. It's not 100% guarantee. As likely as it probably is, at least it'll be competitive, and that's what I want.
Right, yeah. They're not, like you said, they're not going to run away with it, but they're still winning, and they haven't lost yet.
Not yet.
So until somebody beats them, they're the champs right now.
Well, hold on. Let's not crown. They're not the champs, but they are the best team in the league now.
They are the best team right now.
And speaking of not the best teams right now.
Oh, yes. The other Sunday game, the Oregon Lightning at the Washington Wolfpack. Oregon came out on top of this one 37-9. This was the Vice National Game of the Week, a rematch from last week. And the Lightning, they were up 13-7 after the first quarter, and then nobody scored in the second quarter. So that was your halftime score. In the third quarter, a safety by Washington followed by a touchdown off the iron by Oregon on the ensuing kickoff, and Lightning was up 19-9 at the end of the third. Lightning scored 18 unanswered points in the fourth quarter. Yeah, Washington just didn't have it that night. So, yeah, I mean, which is kind of the opposite. I mean, these two teams have played, this is the third matchup this year?
I think it's the 12th.
Could be. But anyway, Washington has kind of owned Oregon in the last couple of games, but not this time. Yeah. Oregon's finally putting it all together, and they had a good game against Washington.
And Oregon should have had the first matchup because they were up, 35-0, and then 28-0, and then Washington came back and won.
Gave up 35 points.
So these two teams go in big hot streaks. Like, so in that game, 35 unanswered won the game for the Wolfpack in that game. Then their last matchup last week, the Wolfpack jumped out to a 41-0 lead. Then Oregon scored 30 unanswered, even though they lost. So it was 41-30 last week. Now this week, Oregon, comes out, gets the win. They had the 18 points at the end of the game. So these teams are streaky. Like something just happens and they just can't do something, or they just can do everything. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But these two teams are just so on equal footing that it's hard to really compare them to anybody else in the league.
Right. Yeah.
They're almost like mirror images of themselves.
Yep, exactly. And then on bye this past week, it was Corpus Christi and Nashville. And I think they're going to both be in action this coming week.
That's the rumor.
Okay. So moving on to some news items that came out of the AF1. Former Raiders and NFL Buccaneers head coach Jon Gruden has joined the ownership group of the Nashville Cats. You may remember that his brother Jay played and coached in the AFL, so I think it's a perfect fit. I think Jon Gruden has been around arena football thanks to his brother, so he knows a lot of the ins and outs. He watched his brother play during the heyday of the AFL, and so I think he knows what he's getting himself into, and he still wants to be a part of it. So good for him, I say.
And it's pointed out by our friends, Tim and Slasher, that through this announcement is also kind of revealed the Cats ownership group. That was something that nobody really knew for certain, but now it's like Fisher Football LLC or something like that.
He's got an LLC.
So
for
Jeff,
the group.
So joining Jeff Fisher. So clearly Jeff Fisher, this might be the first domino in the. He says he knows that there's celebrities or people that want to be involved with this league. So I think that's a good step in the right direction to hopefully getting a little more stability. I mean, it's just with this one franchise that seems to be trending in the right direction, but having a name like that associated with your league is probably good press for right now. I mean, despite his issues with the NFL, but he's been making a comeback with Barstool Sports and a lot of the stuff he's been doing over there. So I think it's a good move by the AF1. Let's just see if they can keep that momentum up.
Yeah. I'm anxious to see who else is coming and when the next announcement will be. If they'll make some more announcements this year, or you would think that at least by the time of the championship game they'll have some announcements on owners and
future franchises. That's the plan, it sounds like.
Yeah.
But
that's the way they've done it in the past, and I'd like to see them continue that. Yeah, that'd be great. Another story from the AF1: Southwest Kansas Storm quarterback Jalen Morton has signed with the UFL's Birmingham Stallions. That was a bit of a surprise.
Well, when we were doing that show Monday night, I just happened to check the transactions list, and that his name was the only name on the transactions list, saying he was on the exempt list. I had no idea what it meant. Then the next day I saw, he's signing with the Stallions. That's what that means. So good for him. I mean, this is kind of the point of these these leagues, to kind of move up the totem pole. And I think it's awesome for him. A great opportunity. He's looked great in the AF1. He's getting a shot with a really good team in Birmingham and the UFL. And who knows where that could lead him from there. So we wish him nothing but the best. It stinks for the AF1, for the Storm to lose a player like that. A guy whose trajectory was league MVP almost. I mean, we got to participate in the mid-season awards vote for the AF1. Humble brag. And but his name came up. I definitely had him on my ballot. I'm sure you put him on your ballot. not to unveil your. Oh no, he's giving me a face like you didn't put him on your ballot, Randy.
I didn't vote for him for league MVP. No.
Second. What about second team?
Probably second team.
Oh, second team. Okay, at least. But regardless, look, he's been a talent. He's been a guy we liked watching this year. So we just wish him the best of luck.
He's been very exciting to watch. That's for sure. So good luck in the UFL. I wonder if we'll see him on the sidelines this weekend.
I don't know. I'm curious. I hope to see him. That'd be great.
Yeah. Another news item: Billings Outlaws.
A nose item?
A news item. The Billings Outlaws have signed quarterback Malik Henry from the dormant Carolina Cobras of the National Arena League. You may remember he was featured in the show, what do they call it? Not a docuseries, but...
pretty much, yeah. Sports docuseries.
Yeah, Last Chance U. Netflix, I guess, has had it. He was there during seasons 3 and 4.
Okay. Yep.
From the Independence Community College, Independence, Missouri.
I mean, he's been a name that's kind of jumped around to different teams in arena and indoor. Yep. So curious to see. We kind of figured the Outlaws need something at quarterback, and hopefully this is the spark they need.
Some kind of upgrade at quarterback, and hopefully this is it for him.
Yep, we'll see. Very excited to catch him on the field.
Yep. All right, next week's slate of games for Week 9. On Saturday, you have the Nashville Cats at the Albany Firebirds. That's your Vice game.
That
Saturday
should just be
game.
hopefully another game of the week.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about that matchup.
Yeah, that should be a good one. Also on Saturday, it's the Washington Wolfpack at the Billings Outlaws. And then on Monday night, that's unusual, Corpus Christi Tritons at the Oregon Lightning. And on bye this week, the Southwest Kansas Storm and the Salina Liberty.
What a perfect time for the Storm, how to figure out that quarterback situation for them now.
Yep.
And for Salina, I'm really hoping, they keep working what they've been doing. Because, yes, you lost to the Firebirds, but I think they have nothing but positive vibes there in that organization.
Yep. Okay, then looking at the AF1 standings after Week 8, it's the Albany Firebirds at 7-0, the only undefeated team. Southwest Kansas Storm at 5-3, Nashville Cats at 3-2, Corpus Christi at 3-2, Billings at 2-4, Salina at 2-5, Oregon 2-5, and Washington at 2-5.
And another nugget from that interview with Steven Tice is the talk of adjusting the playoff format, because we've kind of all been under the impression that the top 6 teams are going to make it into the playoffs. Kind of the way things have shaken out, he made it sound like they're looking into, and we might get an announcement sometime this week, next week, that they're going to change the format to maybe just the top 4 teams, which, if that's the case, I'm okay with, because nothing against some of these teams, but I just feel like there is a big talent discrepancy this year in your first season, and to let a couple of those teams sneak into the playoffs, just, I don't know. I think it'll diminish your playoff product. So give me the top 4 teams. Yeah, I'd be okay with that if that's what ultimately happens.
Yeah. Yep. Like you said, you've got your top 4 and your bottom 4 right now, and but that can change.
It can change because you got Corpus Christi, who would technically be your 4th seed probably, and we all know we don't really know. That's the problem.
We know nothing about what's going on in Corpus Christi.
I think once everything shakes out, hopefully we'll get like a Salina or a Billings, hopefully in that top 4 to, make those playoffs a lot more interesting.
Okay. All right, now we're going to turn our attention to the National Arena League, and we're going to turn to Adam for that.
Yeah, how about this, guys? Week 9 in the National Arena League. We had a triple header on Saturday and a game on Sunday. Let's start with this game. What a thriller this ended up being, as the Beaumont Renegades squeaked by the Shreveport Rougarou 55-54, keeping those Beaumont Renegades undefeated. Incredible. This game came down, I think it was another last-second score for Beaumont. This is a team that just has no quit, and they just got grit, and they are finding ways to win, and that's what you got to do a lot of times in these leagues. And I'm just beyond impressed with this team.
Yeah, they're a team that's kind of come out of nowhere. When you've got teams like the Omaha Beef and the Sioux City Bandits and Columbus Lions, my gosh, those teams have been around many years, and they're good teams. But to have the Beaumont Renegades leading the league and being undefeated this year, I think it's good for the league, but it is a surprise to me.
It is, but I think it's a pleasant surprise.
Yes.
Then we have a non-league exhibition game. We're just going to coast on by. The Omaha Beef blew out this Philadelphia Soul. The Dallas Falcons 70-0. Then also Saturday, the Colorado Spartans took out the Wheeling Miners 41-25. And then finally on Sunday, the Sioux City Bandits clobbered the Idaho Horsemen 78-42. Those Idaho Horsemen are up and down.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Hard to get a good read on them. And then on by the Columbus Lions. And then one little news story. Take this with a big grain of salt, I think, because I haven't really seen this official anywhere.
Right.
I saw this. I was a little dubious. So here, the story is, according to the Inside the Arena fellas, an expansion team is announced by the NAL. I have not seen an official NAL announcement.
Right, yeah.
That's why saying it's an official announcement or whatever, I just can't take seriously. But anyway, an expansion team announced for 2026. The Monroe Gators from Louisiana. Cool logo, but I'm not going to lie. It seems like something AI generated or that you get on one of those like Fiverr wherever where you're like, hey, I need to make a fantasy football logo. Oh, yeah, we got a bunch of pre-made templates. Just use that.
Yeah, I saw this on the Inside the Arena site. I subscribed to them. Yeah. And I went to the official NAL site. There's no news item, no official thing from the league itself, so I don't know if they've really jumped the gun or what's going on, but that is what's being reported by Inside the Arena, and we've got some other updates that are also coming from Inside the Arena in a little bit.
Okay, I see that grain of salt. You know what? I'm going to push that off the table. And here's a big salt block. Take it with a salt block right now. We shall see. Anyway, your upcoming games for Week 10 in the National Arena League we'll see on Saturday night. Triple header. So all three games will take place Saturday night. The Shreveport Rougarou will take on the Columbus Lions. The Beaumont Renegades will travel to Wheeling to take on the Miners. And the Omaha Beef will travel to Sioux City to take on the Bandits. And then on by this week, the Colorado Spartans and Idaho Horsemen. In your standings after Week 9 in the American Division, the Beaumont Renegades are your lone unbeaten at 5-0, followed by the 2-3 Columbus Lions and Shreveport Rougarou, and then the 2-4 Wheeling Miners. In the National Division, you have the Omaha Beef at 5-1, the Colorado Spartans at 5-2, the Sioux City Bandits at 3-3, and then the Idaho Horsemen at 3-4.
Okay. Moving on to the Indoor Football League right now, and Week 7, we have our buddy Trey again from Off the Wall with all the scores and highlights from Week 7, and we're going to turn it over to Trey and let him tell you all about Week 7.
World of Football guys, what is going on? Trey from Off the Wall here, checking in with y'all on the latest from the Indoor Football League. Week 7 took place this past weekend, and we had some bangers, we had some beatdowns, and we only have one undefeated team left in the league. So let's dive into these games. The Quad City Steamwheelers went to Indiana to face the Fishers Freight, and Quad City escaped with a 55-48 win in overtime. Quad City is an absolute thrill ride, a very fun team to watch. If you have not watched the Quad City Steamwheelers game so far this season, you're missing out. Go watch some highlights. Go watch a full game on the IFL Network if you haven't already, but they are a ton of fun. But this one did not come nearly as easy as some of the others. The usually strong Steamwheelers defense was getting run all over by Fishers, and they required some late-game heroics from quarterback Daquan Neal to force overtime late and ultimately escape with the win. Wasn't the most efficient day through the air for Neal or on the ground as a team, for that matter, but Neal was able to throw for 5 touchdowns, and they got away with the win. So a win is a win. They all count the same. Steamwheelers are still the best team in the IFL right now, but it feels like this one was a little too close for comfort if you're a Steamwheelers fan. But for Fishers, they got to get this passing game worked out, man. Their passing game is a mess. They lead the league in rushing heading into this game, so naturally, you have a struggling passing game, you have a strong rushing game. What do? You sign another running back. And I laugh, but it worked. It worked for Fishers. They signed Shane Simpson, who was with Bay Area last year, who just had a very dynamic season, reunites with Dixie Wooten in Fishers, and he had a hell of a game. 19 carries, 100-plus yards, and 4 touchdowns on the ground, and he was the spark plug that this Fishers offense really needed, and he was able to do some really great things for them, and they controlled this game up until the very end. When they needed the passing game to come through, it just wasn't there. So Fishers still got to get their passing game sorted out, but they're a fun team to watch. Next game we're going to talk about is the Iowa Barnstormers at the Jacksonville Sharks. Jacksonville won this game 53-22, so an absolute beatdown by the Sharks. The Sharks were heading in the wrong direction heading into this game, and they needed a big win to get them back on track, and they got it here. And surprisingly, they did it through a ground game between Caleb Barker and running back Vance Bennett, combined for 159 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground. Jaden Stoshak, 3 receiving touchdowns as well. And I've honestly been critical of Caleb Barker in recent weeks, and he had a great game on the ground and was pretty efficient in the passing game, but still had some of those red flags. The Sharks threw 3 interceptions in this game, and now Caleb Barker leads the league in interceptions thrown with 9 on the season. So through 6 games, 9 interceptions, not a great ratio, and honestly, if sitting at 4-2 right now is a bit of a blessing in disguise based on how this offense has performed so far this season. But Sharks fans got to be happy with where they're at. I'm sure they'll look for things to continue to get better from here. And for Iowa, I'm at a loss for words, guys. It's not often I'm at a loss, but the Barnstormers, they popped for 68 points last week, and they had a new quarterback in James Cahoon. It seemed like they were turning the corner. Like, all right, Iowa's Iowa. Let's go. And the wheels just fell off here. They were held scoreless in the first half and didn't score their first points until midway through the third quarter, and the turnover bug just reared its ugly head. Cahoon had 174 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air, but 4 interceptions. So 7 total interceptions in this game by both teams. Just momentum killers for the Barnstormers, and Iowa can't run the ball. They turn the ball over a ton through the passing game. Every quarterback they've tried has had multiple interception games so far this season. It just seems to be a bigger problem than what is just on the field in Iowa, and they stink again, guys. It's sad to see. Next game we're going to talk about is the Green Bay Blizzard going to Tulsa to take on the Tulsa Oilers, and Tulsa's defense absolutely dominated this game. They won 46-30. So Tulsa's defense has been on a tear ever since they got scorched by the same Blizzard team a couple weeks back. And you take away that one Blizzard game from when the Green Bay was able to score 74, and Tulsa has the second best scoring defense in the league throughout this entire season. The secondary is swarming and really putting the other teams in a pretzel, and they did the same thing with the Blizzard here. TJ Edwards only had 4 touchdowns in this game. Only, right? Running back and backup quarterback Sauce Rogers had a great game on the ground, nearly 5.5 yards per carry, and he got in the end zone twice himself. And the offense truly never really had to go pedal to the metal in this one, and they just had to control the clock and control the game. But for Green Bay, this was a tough outing. If you look at their first 5 drives of the game, missed field goal, turnover on downs, interception, fumble, made field goal. First half, they had 3 points, and that's just not enough to beat this Tulsa team whose offense is very potent and can score points in bunches. So the Blizzard are usually much more intentional with running the ball, and they were playing catch-up for most of the day, and they were just in too deep of a hole to come back. And in the biggest upset of the weekend, the Arizona Rattlers went to Tucson to face the Tucson Sugar Skulls, and Tucson won this game 42-35. So there's just something about Tucson at home. I don't understand it. Every single team they face at home, no matter how good they are, they manage to drag them into the mud and just turn every game into a fist fight. And this game was no different. George Raynat, quarterback, had 142 yards and 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, crucial. And Larry Harrington, who was traded from Arizona earlier this year, caught 3 of those touchdowns in the second half to really win this game for Tucson. And the Rattlers were able to jump out to a double-digit lead in this one, but the Tucson defense tightened up and was able to give them a chance to come back and win, and they did. So big shout-out to Tucson for the big upset over the weekend. And for Arizona, this was just very un-Arizona-like for them. Dalton Snead had a very poor game, finished 9 for 22 passing, 4 touchdowns, and a critical late interception that gave Tucson an opportunity to come back and win it with that field goal late. And Arizona is still one of the best teams in the West, and I expect them to, still make a run at the playoffs. This is not the end of their season by any means, but we've got a very fun game coming up next weekend between the Arizona Rattlers and the Bay Area Panthers that is going to be must-see TV. If you're not a common watcher of the IFL, that's one you need to be watching. Next game we're going to talk about is the Northern Arizona Wranglers at the Vegas Nighthawks, and Vegas won this game 43-37. So Vegas got a win when they needed one. They're back above 500 for the first time since week 2, but they still have a little bit of a quarterback situation. I don't want to call it a controversy, but it's a situation. They turned to quarterback Jaden DeLaura in this one, and he was off to a pretty good start, but ended up, I think, injuring his leg, or he came up limping after a scramble, and quarterback Jerome Johnson came into the game in relief and played pretty well as well, and he looked like the 2024 version of himself. And wide receiver Tamarian Terry had 3 receiving touchdowns on the day, and defensive back Darius Williams had 2 blocked field goals. 2 blocked field goals from one individual player, just big-time momentum shifters, and one that was recovered for a touchdown that ended up being the difference in the game. So big shout-out to DB Darius Williams there. But this quarterback situation is going to be interesting to see how it unfolds and to see if DeLaura misses extended time. Does Jerome Johnson reclaim the starting quarterback spot permanently? There's a lot of unanswered questions here, but another unanswered question was Northern Arizona's quarterback. Their quarterback play has just been dreadful for Northern Arizona heading into this game, but they recently signed Caleb Lowe, who comes over from the Idaho Horsemen of the NAL, and the offense looked its absolute best. They scored over 30 points for the very first time this season. That's right. Week 7, they finally broke 30 points in the Indoor Football League. Big shout out to the Wranglers for figuring things out and getting their offense in order. Lowe finished the game 15 for 26, 146 yards and 2 touchdowns, but most importantly, no back-breaking turnovers. Big shout out to Caleb Lowe coming in and doing the thing and giving his team a chance to win it. The downside of what Lowe brings to the table, unfortunately, is that he isn't nearly as mobile as C.J. Fowler, former quarterback, was. But I think if they're able to figure out a run game and be a little bit more intentional early with running back Nolan Susel, who had 3 touchdowns in this one in the red zone, they could be a little bit more intentional, a little bit more consistent with that. Look out! This team could start to piece some things together and start to play spoiler for some other teams in the West as the season progresses. But the final game of the weekend, San Diego Strikeforce at the Bay Area Panthers. Bay Area put the beat down on San Diego in the California Clash by a score of 57-34. So the California Clash usually delivers some really great games and one of my favorite rivalries in all of indoor and arena football. And we were looking like we were going to get another classic here, but then the third quarter happened, and Bay Area played one of the best halves of football you'll see in all of indoor and arena football. Bay Area was down 16-15 at the half, and then went on a 42-18 run in the second half, including 4 unanswered touchdowns that just busted the game wide open. And they were intentional with running the ball, passing the ball. They were very efficient with Josh Jones, and it's heading into the season, I was thinking, what if this team is able to combine Northern Arizona's offense from 2024, which was very good, with Bay Area's offense, or Bay Area's defense rather, from 2024, which was also very good? You could be looking at a very deadly combination, and this was a game where you kind of saw the vision, you kind of saw what they could be. So they get a fun matchup with Arizona Rattlers next week. That, like I said, must see TV if you're a fan of football at any level. But for San Diego, they just continue to look rough on offense, and second half adjustments are not their forte, boys. It's just not something that they're very good at. They had a lead early in the third quarter, and they just fell apart. Nate Davis didn't look great. 3 interceptions, 177 yards, and a touchdown. The team did recently acquire running back Ed Vander in a trade from Jacksonville, and they're starting to get him involved, but they're just missing out on big explosive pass plays that they were able to capitalize on a ton in 2024. And they've got a favorable schedule coming up with Northern Arizona a handful of times, Tucson in the mix there. So hopefully they'll be able to get things back on the straight and narrow and limit some of these turnovers and get Vander a little bit more involved to get back to 500 and, secure their spot in the playoff race as we approach the midway point of the season. But great weekend of football this past weekend. We've got another great weekend of football ahead. Adam, Randy, appreciate the opportunity to come on here and talk about the IFL. Look forward to chopping it up with you guys on the socials in the future. And let's enjoy this upcoming weekend of football, and we'll see you out there. Bye.
Thanks, Trey. You folks can follow Off the Wall on YouTube and on multiple social media platforms. Just search for Off the Wall FB. That's F as in foot, B as in ball, as he says. And you'll be able to find all the great stuff that Trey's doing over there.
I think we're overdue for joining him for one of his turf tape episodes. I'm just throwing that out there. I know we were talking to him about another thing we're going to do coming up soonish. So, he's doing some great stuff over there. Did you see his idea for virtual T-shirt giveaways? Because that was genius.
I think I did, yes. Yes, where you let online people...
Oh, yeah, he's got great ideas to innovate the game. So he's a guy everybody should be following and listening to.
Man after my own heart. He's got great ideas, but nobody's listening to him.
He's the son Randy never had.
All right. In some more IFL news, according to Inside the Arena, again, The Duke City Gladiators put out an announcement saying that they plan to return to the IFL in 2026. And then you pointed out, and I missed this when I was reading that, that their handle is ABQ something 2026, because there was another announcement saying the IFL has announced that there's going to be a team in Albuquerque, New Mexico in 2026.
So Randy thought this was two different stories.
Right,
but secretly, well, not secretly to him, it was one story.
It went right over my head.
Yep.
You had to really look at that press release.
Yes, you really had to go down a couple more lines just to make sure you had the whole story.
Right, yeah. So I don't know if
reading's hard.
If either one of these is totally true, because again, I tried to go to the IFL website and see if there was any official announcement. There was not. I've only seen it from inside the arena, so we shall see if either or both of these or any of these stories are actually true.
This giant salt block still tastes like salt.
All right, and so looking ahead to Week 8 action in the IFL, on Saturday it's Quad City at Green Bay, Iowa at Tulsa, Bay City at Arizona, and San Antonio at the Vegas Nighthawks, as well as the Massachusetts Pirates at the Tucson Sugar Skulls. And then on Sunday, it's the Northern Arizona Wranglers at the San Diego Strike Force. And two teams on bye this week, the Fishers Freight, my favorite team, and the Jacksonville Sharks.
Yeah, this bye cannot have come at a better time for the Fishers Freight, because
they started out 2-0 and they've lost
four
three
straight
or
now.
four. Yeah, oh my gosh, they need to right the ship. But we had such a good time going down to that game.
We did, and we might have jinxed them.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep saying it until they get back in the win column, because yikes, I feel bad.
I saw a video yesterday on YouTube of a family, a guy and his wife and their little girl, that do these things where they go around to different places, and they were at that game that we were at.
Oh, okay.
And so I kept looking to see if we showed up in the background somewhere. We did not, but they obviously had a good time. They were talking about, they went to the gift shop, and they showed all that, and same stuff we all did.
You pointed out that you found a news video from like one of their local affiliates.
Yes.
When the first game happened that we were actually at. If you watch long enough, there is a part where you could see players being interviewed, and we're in the background.
Yep. All you see is the back of my head, but you can see you and you can see Aaron very clearly. We were behind the player that was being interviewed, and we were interviewing another player.
Yep.
So
Who Randy kept saying his name wrong, and that's also probably what jinxed him.
I don't know. I've apologized for that more times than I can count.
And you'll keep apologizing until we have him on the show again.
Let's see. And looking at the IFL standings after Week 7, in the East is Quad City at 6-0, the Jacksonville Sharks at 4-2, Green Bay at 3-3, Tulsa at 3-2, Massachusetts at 2-3, Fishers Freight at 2-4, and the Iowa Barnstormers at 1-3. And then in the West, it's the Arizona Wranglers and the Bay Area Panthers.
Both Rattlers, not the Wranglers. That's a different league.
Oh, that's right. I'm thinking USFL of the
80s.
Yep. The Arizona Rattlers and the Bay Area Panthers, both at 4-1. The Vegas Nighthawks at 3-2. Tucson Sugar Skulls and San Diego Strike Force at 2-3. San Antonio Gunslingers at 1-4. And the lowly Northern Arizona Wranglers at 0-5. They need to get a win soon. We don't want to see any winless teams every season. So I'm really rooting for Northern Arizona to win a game here soon.
Yep.
All right. Let's move on to the UFL with Adam.
All right, let's do that, because it was week 6 in the UFL. A bunch of good games, and boy, do this top of the league, it's hard to tell who's the best team in the league right now. But Friday night saw the St. Louis Battlehawks defeat the Arlington Renegades in a barn burner, 12-6. Yep, I did not catch any of that game, but St. Louis getting back in the win column. Then on Saturday, the Houston Roughnecks took out the Memphis Showboats in a squeaker, 21-20. Sunday, this is a game I checked out. The Michigan Panthers defeated the DC Defenders 38-14. What a performance by the Panthers.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, I kind of expected the DC to win that game, but I was very happily surprised that Michigan came out on top.
Yeah, Michigan comes out on top. And they just got so many weapons, and it was just such a good game. I mean, but another display of the officiating done right, I think. Like a lot of the transparency, I feel like. I'm not saying every call got correct, but the transparency is there that we're all craving. And then Sunday, the Birmingham Stallions defeated the San Antonio Brahmas 26-3. This sets up Week 7 action, which will start Friday night as the DC Defenders will travel down to San Antonio to take on the Brahmas. Saturday, our beloved Michigan Panthers traveling down to Arlington to take on the Renegades. And then Sunday's doubleheader, we'll see the Houston Roughnecks travel to Birmingham to take on the Stallions. And then on Sunday night, the St. Louis Battlehawks traveling over to Memphis to take on the Showboats. And the big news story out of the UFL this week, other than Jalen Morton going from the Arena Football 1 to the Stallions, is that the UFL and Players Association have finally agreed on a new collective bargaining agreement through next year at least.
I don't remember how long it goes for. I think you're right, but yeah, this almost derailed the start of the season because at the last minute they decided, okay, we're gonna play without a CBA, and it's taken them over halfway through the season to finally get one signed and in place. So glad they finally got it done.
Me too, because I'm liking what the UFL is doing on the whole, and they got a lot of stuff they still got to work out, getting butts in seats, and I think just growing it a little bit more. They're doing a lot right. And I would have hated to have seen it derailed by something as trivial as that. Just get your players taken care of. All right. The standings after 5 weeks, we are at the halfway point, or after week 6 now.
Oh, yeah. Week 6. I wrote that down wrong.
Yeah, you wrote it down wrong. Did you get the standings right this week? Let's find out, because in the XFL division, the DC Defenders and St. Louis Battlehawks sit atop that with 4-2 records, followed by the 3-3 Arlington Renegades, and then the 1-5 San Antonio Brahmas. And then in the USFL division, the Birmingham Stallions and Michigan Panthers both sit at 4-2, followed by the 3-3 Houston Roughnecks, and then the Memphis Showboats at 1-5.
4 teams with a 4-2 record. 2 in the XFL division, 2 in the USFL division.
Love to see it.
Yeah. I'm glad the Panthers are part of that.
I am too. If you look at some of the power rankings, power rankings in some of these spring leagues are tough to buy into, but a lot of people are starting to put the Panthers towards the top, which I like.
Oh, yeah.
The only sucky part is if this team makes it to a championship, I'm going to hate not going to a championship game that involves the Michigan Panthers.
Well, it's in St. Louis. We've been there for a game, so we know how to get there.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see if the stars align. I just don't know if they would if the Panthers made it.
Yeah.
But that'll do it for the USFL, and we're going to throw it over to Ray. We got some new leagues.
You mean the UFL? Not the US?
I say?
You said the USFL.
You know what I meant. The UFL, that's it for that. Now let's take it down to Mexico, where Randy's going to be brushing off his English to Espanol dictionary to tell us all about what happened down in La Liga de Fútbol Americano Profesional.
You took that away from me. I was clearing my throat to say that, but all right. Week 1 scores in the LFA. On Friday night, it was a new team, the Puebla Archangels, defeating the Black Roosters 25-8. On Saturday, it was the Monterrey Bears, another new team.
The Osos.
Yeah, defeating the Dinos 23-9.
That Monterrey Bears team co-owned by George Kittle of the.
He's part of the ownership group, I guess. Yeah, we posted a little thing that he reposted it. Let's see. Also on Saturday, it was the Leaders over the Kings 41-9, and on Sunday it was the Mexicans over the Raptors 16-8. So they're underway in Mexico for their league.
Oh, and so many leagues.
Yeah. So that's all we've got for that one. But then the Women's Football Alliance, you pointed this out to me. They actually started up last week, and I forgot. It was on our upcoming events calendar, but I forgot to get scores last week. So we have 2 weeks of scores for you to go through now.
All right, yep. And we're not going to tackle every game because there's so many teams and so many divisions here, but we're going to tackle some of the. Dad usually just picks out some cool names and some
give
interesting
everybody
scores.
A little love there.
Yep. So week 1 saw the Pittsburgh Passion, probably the heavy favorite for the league, I think, defeating the Tampa Bay Inferno 42-13. Then Cincinnati Cougars shut out our Grand Rapids Tidal Waves 80-0.
Yikes.
And then the East Tennessee Valkyrie defeated the Raleigh Express 8-6. So this past weekend now, week 2, saw the Atlanta Rage defeat the Palm Beach Coyotes 14-8. Then this is a great name. The Rocky Mountain Thundercats, cats with a K and a Z on the end, defeated the New Mexico Bonitas 36-30. And then finally, the Harrisburg Havoc defeated the New Hampshire Rebellion 28-12. So Women's Football Association's out there, guys. Go check them out. They got a nice YouTube channel where they recap the games. Go check that. And if you got one of these teams locally, go check them out. There's a lot of teams all over the country. I mean, Grand Rapids is only an hour drive for us. I'm hoping we can sneak up for a game at some point.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
All right.
And again, apologies for not getting their scores last week. So that's why I put 2 weeks worth.
You
in this
bum.
week. I know it. All right, and then the AF1 championship game was played over the weekend.
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready. I don't know what's about to happen. All I know is I think we're about to get a classic Randy's rant incoming.
Did I say AF1? AIF.
There you go.
American Indoor Football. I thought this league was gone. I thought it was dead. I know on our graphic we have their logo, but we have not covered them at all this season.
Which surprised me.
And yes, and I'm going to tell you why. The championship game was held over the weekend, and the West Michigan Ironmen from Muskegon, Michigan, which I've been to see them play before, they defeated the Coralville Chaos from Iowa by the score of 75-32 in the league championship game.
Impressive.
Yes, until you've realized that there are only 3 teams in the AIF. There's West Michigan, Coralville, and the Cedar Rapids River Kings. You remember that name?
Yeah.
They were kicked out of, what was it, the NAL?
NAL
or somebody.
Or one of those leagues.
They were kicked out of that league for financial problems, and they became like a free agent. But this AIF also has 4 non-league travel teams to go play the 3 teams that actually have arenas. And those teams are the Detroit Ravens, the Hidden Gems Phenoms, the Michigan Avengers with a Z, and the Michigan Gladiators. This was actually the 5th title in 10 seasons for the Ironmen. They've been a really good team, but they've been playing in some rinky-dink leagues with no competition. And it bugs me because they should be on a bigger stage. And they were in, were they in the IFL at one time?
When they were the Muskegon Thunder?
No, well, yes, they were the Muskegon Thunder at one time. But I think the Ironmen actually were in a different league, and they made it all the way to the championship game, but lost a few years ago. I didn't have that written down, but I do remember that. Anyway, this year the Ironmen posted a 7-0 record, including the championship game. So 5 regular season games, a playoff game, and a championship game. I'm not sure how that worked out, but they beat their opponents this year by a combined score of 396 to 129. In 2016, I saw the AF1 Ironmen defeat the Cincinnati Bulldogs by the score of 107 to nothing in Muskegon. The Muskegon Thunder played in the IFL and the CIFL. The Ironmen lost to the Michigan Avengers last year in something known as the Great Lakes Indoor Football League, but they play in these rinky-dink little like practice facilities where there's no seating for anybody. So that's where these games begin. So yeah, the AF1 is still there, but AIF, God, the AIF is still around, but man, they should not be. And I'm just that's why we didn't cover them all season long. It's not a real league.
They're lucky that they were even put on our graphic.
They used to be a good league. I mean, they used to have a lot of teams. I think the Columbus Lions played in that league.
Well, they were kind of the same situation where they dominated. They were the best.
Right.
So this West Michigan Ironman, according to the Wikipedia page, they played in the American Indoor Football, which was back in 2016. Mm-hmm. 2017, they played in Champions Indoor Football. Then Midwest Professional Indoor Football in 2018. Then they played in the American Arena League from 2019 to 2021. Then in 2022, they played in the Arena Professional Football League. Then from 2023 to 2024, they played in the Great Lakes Arena Football. And then this year, they rejoined, or the new iteration of the American Indoor Football. So they just keep hopping around from league to league. And I don't know. It's hard to take them serious, even though they're right in our own backyard.
Right.
It's just...
I'd love it.
I'd love it if they're this good, or as good as they say they are, they boast about whatever. I'd love to see them jump to an actual league.
Right.
So
right, exactly.
Until they do, I don't know. I just can't bring myself to go over to Muskegon to see them.
Yeah. Well, we used to go all the time when they were the Muskegon Thunder. We went there to see several games.
Yeah, because they were in the indoor football league.
Right. And but yeah, this I don't know. I don't know what to think about this. It's just a mess. Anyway, that is the end of our scoreboard this week. What are we at? 45 minutes into the show?
We are 49 and a half minutes in.
God. All right. We got to do something to shut down these scores a little bit. Let's
Well,
see.
maybe if some of these leagues folded, Randy, but we don't want that now, do we?
Well, a couple of them are close to coming to an end here in a couple of weeks, but others are starting up, so it's not going to end anytime soon. Let's see. Some more happenings in the world of football. Some NFL news. The NFL has fined the Atlanta Falcons $250,000 and defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich $100,000 over the Shedeur Sanders prank call during the draft by Ulbrich's son.
I think somebody said that's like an eighth of Ulbrich's salary. Like,
Really?
for this prank, woof. Like,
Well,
this
yeah.
kid, man, I hope he's grounded for for a while. Either he's probably in college,
Yeah.
but still, I mean,
To pull that off and to actually film it,
Ugh.
I guess a buddy of his actually made the call, but he was sitting next to his buddy.
Yeah.
He gave the phone or gave the
Yeah.
number to his buddy, whatever. Just a very unfortunate thing. It shouldn't happen to anybody,
Yep.
regardless of whether you're like Shedeur or not. That should not have happened to anybody. Let's see. The 2027 NFL Draft will be held in Washington, D.C. It's going to Pittsburgh next year. The last time that Washington hosted the draft was in December of 1940.
was that for World War II?
That was pre-World War II.
Oh,
But
well, this is a different draft. Sorry. Okay.
no. Yes. The event is expected to take place on the National Mall. You know, that's where the Washington Monument is, the Jefferson Memorial, and all that. So it's not going to be at a football facility, but they've got so much room there they can pack in
They could.
hundreds of thousands.
They could
of people.
probably break records, I
Yep.
think. Which, hey, good for them. And I think it'll be cool optically.
Oh yeah. With all the national monuments in the background and
Oh, yeah.
aerial view.
I
of
think it's
that.
going to be a really cool event in that location in a couple of years. I really do.
Yep.
We'll see where we're at with the political climate at that time if something adjusts. But conceptually, I dig the idea.
Yeah, and the new stadium that they're supposedly building should be under construction at that time. So if you go to that draft, you could maybe walk over and take a look at a big hole in the ground.
There you
That's
go.
about where
That
it'll be
sounds great. It's like going to the Grand Canyon.
That's right. Take your camera. Let's see. And kicker Justin Tucker, you know all about Justin Tucker, was released by the Baltimore Ravens, which they deemed as a football decision in quotes.
I'm sure it was.
You were there when he kicked the 66-yard field goal.
Why do we got to keep bringing that
You were
up?
in the end zone. The ball was coming straight at you. Doinked in.
Thanks. Yep, I'm reliving it right now. He also ruined my fantasy football season this year. But anyway,
I'm very sorry
I mean,
about that.
look, we all know, if you haven't heard, there's stories about what he's been doing, been under investigation. Clearly, either something has been discovered and the team's just cutting ties now, or they just want a clean break and whatever happens, happens. They also drafted a kicker in the draft, so that was also kind of early signs that, okay, yeah, maybe they're going to move away from Justin Tucker. Bam, here we are a week after the draft, and they've already made their decision. So, wow, how the mighty have fallen.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, and the final story I had to
that's
add
right.
later. Breaking news earlier today, the Steelers traded wide receiver George Pickens to the Dallas Cowboys for a 2026 third-round pick and 2027 fifth-round pick, while the Cowboys traded a 2027 sixth-round pick back in return. I'm not sure exactly how all the picks work, but the Steelers getting rid of Pickens. They're getting draft picks. So, interesting decision. They just traded for DK Metcalf. So a lot of people were thinking, oh boy, is Aaron Rodgers going to go there where he's got DK Metcalf and George Pickens? This is going to be an interesting thing happening here. And they traded away Pickens, and we still don't know about Aaron Rodgers. So I don't know what the Steelers are doing, to be honest with you. This is the most uncertain I've ever... Well, the last few years, the Steelers have just been... I don't know, not on their usual level.
Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of people on Sports Talk are talking about that. The Steelers are not making good decisions right now, and I don't know.
I feel like
can't
we've said
argue with
that the last couple of years, but then they find a way to get over 500 and get into the
Yep.
playoffs.
Haven't how many years now?
Isn't it 14 years, something crazy like that?
Yeah, as long as their coach has been there, Mike Tomlin, they've never had a losing season. So, they haven't won too many
16?
championships, but they do have a winning team every year. All right, let's move on north of the border. The Canadian Football League draft took place earlier last week, and the The Calgary Stampeders selected wide receiver Damon Alford from Utah with the first overall pick in that draft. Their draft doesn't get a lot of attention. That's why we're going to talk about it here for just a minute. In the second round, the Edmonton Elks selected defensive lineman Darian Newell from Queen's University in Kingston. It's like east of Windsor. And he is not eligible to sign a contract with a CFL club for 1 calendar year as a result of a positive drug test that was administered during the CFL Combine in March. I didn't know this until after that happened. But the team was aware of this before they selected him.
Interesting.
So he must be a pretty good player if they're willing to wait a year and waste a draft pick on him now for that. So that was kind of interesting, I thought. Canadian quarterback Curtis Rourke from Indiana, who played for the University of Indiana last year, was drafted twice over the course of 3 days. He was selected by the 49ers in the 7th round of the NFL Draft on Saturday, and then he was selected in the 3rd round of the CFL Draft on Tuesday by the Saskatchewan Roughriders. What do you think about that?
I think he should pick the CFL, and I think he should play against his brother, and then they could have their own version of the Mannings up there with the Rourke brothers.
Okay.
So,
interesting.
Let's make it happen, universe.
Yeah, it's just interesting that in the course of 3 days he gets drafted twice.
Hey, good for him. I mean, I'd be like, hey, you drafted me in the 3rd round. I like you more than the team that only took me in the 7th. But we'll see what he does. Still
a 7th round draft pick, I think, is probably making more money than
probably
than the number one pick.
But still a cool opportunity to go. I wasn't even sure if he'd get drafted at all, but good for him.
Yep. Let's see, wide receiver Hakeem Harris from Davenport University in Grand Rapids was selected by Montreal. That university is an hour away from here in Grand Rapids, and the head coach there is Sparky McEwen, former arena football head coach and player,
and friend of Randy.
And another friend of the show. I've interviewed him before on this show. Let's see. Defensive lineman Trey Lang from Eastern Michigan University in Ypsilanti, Michigan, was also selected by Winnipeg in the 7th round. So we've had a few people. A few years ago, we had a guy from Western Michigan get selected, and he went up to Calgary. I don't remember if he played.
Oh, he did. I remember a Western Michigan guy playing up there in Calgary. Okay. I don't know if it's the same guy, but a Western player did.
Yeah. And it seems like every year we're watching the CFL games, and we'll see somebody from Central Michigan. I forget the guy's name, but he's been up there for a couple of years. So yeah, a lot of people from Michigan and around here in the Mid-America Conference going up there to play. The final player selected in the CFL Draft was defensive back Demetrius Masuka from McMaster's University in Hamilton. He's their version of Mr. Irrelevant, but he's the 72nd player selected. So is it really Mr. Irrelevant? I think a lot of these guys are going to make the team, but we'll see.
They need to do something with poutine or Putin, however you pronounce it up there in Canada.
Well, yeah, in the States we call it poutine, but
but they need to figure out a way to work in like the last player being picked is like the prime poutine minister or something like that, and like get a sponsorship, get them afloat, and like Putin for life.
That poutine they had at McDonald's was awesome. You put those gravy and cheese curds over McDonald's fries. Oh my God, that's
I'm still partial to the BMO Field. The you didn't like it, that jerk chicken.
Oh yeah, that didn't hit me right.
Oh, I loved it. Oh, I thought it was great.
I just liked your plain old gravy and curds and fries. Let's see. So the CFL Draft was 8 rounds and 72 players selected. So congratulations to everybody who got selected. And now we're going to move on to college football. EA Sports College Football 26 video game will be released on July the 10th on the PS5 and Xbox Series X formats. You have one or both of those?
I have the Xbox.
You have the Xbox, okay. And I'm sure you're looking forward to this.
I am. We'll see if I don't know if I'll get it right away. Like last year was such a big deal because it's the first time the game's been back in a while. Right. Now I'm wondering if it'll fall into the same category as Madden, where it's like, do I get it every year? Do I wait every other year? Because essentially it's usually the same game. To be honest, I haven't kept up to see if there's any new features or anything cool that would actually make me want to get it ahead of time. Maybe this year I'll get Madden instead. I don't know.
So basically it's just a new roster.
Pretty much.
With new.
That's the scam. You're paying $60 for a bunch of new.
For a
rosters.
new list of names.
Yeah, pretty much. Hi, welcome to the problem with Madden the last 25 years.
But didn't they do a bunch of video capture of the guys' faces for on that game?
I don't know. That's a good question.
They did. I thought
they could have. I really don't know. I don't.
You played it.
I do play it, but I don't look that hard. I just want to play football. I don't care what they look like.
Okay. Yeah, you're always trying to get Western Michigan to a national championship.
Try. You're talking to the 2-time defending undefeated Western Michigan Broncos college football playoff champs, buddy, with head coach Adam Snow on the sideline. Oh. I have an untarnished record, thank you very much.
Okay. Well,
I get doubted at the beginning of the year, but guess who's playing in the game at the end? Me.
I'm very proud of you, son.
Thank you. Rookie setting will do that for you.
All right. William and Mary is joining the Patriot League in football only in 2026. They currently play in the FCS Coastal Athletic Association, or the CAA. I thought that was noteworthy. Akron has been given a bowl ban by the NCAA.
Hold on.
For the 2025 season.
This story. They were the worst team in college.
Let me finish. Okay. They've been given a bowl ban by the NCAA for the upcoming season after posting a failing academic progress rate score for 2023 through 2024. I guess this is a thing. You can't be under like 930, and there's been a handful of teams through the years that have scored lower than that for their academics on the football team or whatever. So, this is just the latest. But Akron has not played in a bowl since 2017, so I don't think they're going to miss it too much this year.
It's like telling a blind kid they're not eligible for a driver's license.
Oh,
Come on now.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
I saw this
That's
story.
Adam Snow, not Randy.
I was rubbing my temples reading this story because I was like, this team is terrible. Who cares if they don't
They
go to a
have been
bowl?
terrible, but they could turn it around this year. Who knows?
They're not gonna, though.
All right, moving on to today's birthdays and anniversaries. For May 7th, quarterback Johnny Unitas, born on this date in 1933. He passed away in 2002 at the age of 69. Played his college football at Louisville. Was selected in the 9th round of the 1955 NFL Draft by the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was released by the Steelers before the season even began, and he wound up playing semi-pro football in 1955 for the Bloomfield Rams, a semi-pro team outside of Pittsburgh. He went on to play 18 NFL seasons with the Baltimore Colts. 18 seasons in the NFL. He was with the Baltimore Colts from 56 to 72. He was with the San Diego Chargers for his last season in 1973. So strange to see him in a Chargers uniform. He won the 1958 and 59 NFL titles with the Colts. He lost to the Jets in Super Bowl III, but he beat the Cowboys in Super Bowl V, and he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1979. Not bad for a guy that the Steelers didn't want,
right?
Or didn't think he had.
What could have been?
Yeah, it's still going on today with the Steelers, kind of. All right, obituaries. We have one this week. This is where we take a moment to honor those who've made the world of football a better place. Richard Dick Lassie, Lasse, a linebacker in the NFL and the Canadian Football League, has passed away at the age of 89. Lassie played college football at Syracuse and was selected in the 6th round of the 1958 NFL Draft by the Pittsburgh Steelers. He played for the Steelers in 1958 and 1959. He was with the Washington Redskins in 1960 and 1961, and he was also with the New York Giants in 1962. He finished his brief 6-year playing career in the CFL with the Hamilton Tiger Cats in 1963, winning a Grey Cup title with Hamilton when they beat the BC Lions 21-10. All right, our upcoming events calendar. This coming Wednesday, a week from today, the 2025 NFL schedule will be released to much pomp and circumstance, and I think it's just terrible the way they're doing this. I mean, it's just, and I've said this before, the NFL doesn't wipe their butt without somebody sponsoring it, paying for it, and posting it on TV, and people will buy it.
Well, this is probably a bad time to tell you that I plan on doing a video where I will take this schedule and I will tell you every team's record before the season starts. Yep, I'm going to predict how every team's going to do. Yep, that's my goal. I was going to do it last year, but I'm going to do it this year.
I used to do that when the Lions schedule came out, and I was terrible every year.
Oh, I'm going to be bad.
When I said they were going to be bad, they were good. When I said they were going to be good, they were bad, and I never got it even close.
I think last year, because I never actually did the video, if I remember correctly, I had the I couldn't find a win for the New England Patriots. I was like, oh my God, I think I might have them at 0-17. Clearly not correct. So it's a crapshoot. It's before training camp, but it'll be all in good fun, and it'll be something for people to go back and be like, hey, you said that
You suck.
You said that the Bengals were going to be 13-4, but they were
4-13.
Yeah, you idiot. And I'll be like, oh well.
Yeah, leave yourself open for that. Let's see. Saturday, May 17th, the European League of Football begins, and I saw something that their games are going to be available on DAZN.
Yeah. I always mix up their name. I heard it said DAZN. I've heard it's pronounced another way.
I heard.
don't know.
I was pronouncing it DAZN, and I think it was you that said it's DAZN. DAZN.
I think Tim Capper told us it was DAZN
yeah,
too.
It could be.
I don't know, but yep, that's where you're gonna find them.
Okay,
I think that's where they've always been. If you need to stream them internationally,
so I don't know. I know they had a good website. That's where I was looking.
I love their website. I love their app
and their replays.
I'm very excited for their season to kick off.
Yeah, very very good internet presence in that league. So very easy to follow.
Great social media team too.
Yep. Let's see. Monday, May 19th, the CFL preseason begins.
Oh my God, preseason!
Yeah, I know, but still, just the fact that they just had the draft last week, and now all of a sudden the preseason, basically 2 weeks later, and so all these players are already going to be hitting the field for the first time. I just think that's very interesting. And then Friday, May 30th, the Arena League season begins. They got 7 players this year per team instead of 6 from last year, their first year. And it starts with a throw-off, not a kickoff, because they don't have any kicking in this league. Yeah. Little weird. I would still go to a game, but I just don't know. Let's see. Thursday, June 5th, the CFL regular season begins.
There we go. We are less than a month away.
Less than a month away from the CFL regular season beginning. I want to go back to Toronto, see another game this year. We'll see if we can work that out. And then also in June, Saturday, the 14th of June, the UFL Championship game will take place in St. Louis, by the way. And that's it for our upcoming events calendar. All right, anything pop up while we've been recording that we need to share with everybody?
Not great stories, just some off the field stuff for some college football players.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, so outside of that though, nothing really. I'm just very anxious for arena football action this weekend.
Yeah.
UFL action.
Yep.
Weird recording on a Wednesday again. But hey, we're very close to the weekend though.
Yep. All right, well, that's all the time we've got for this week. Don't forget to check out the World of Football merchandise at tpublic.com for the latest in football-related T-shirts, hats, mugs, and more with our logo on it in our merch store.
Oh.
And remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than the two of us guys sitting here in Kalamazoo, Michigan, talking about football every week. Join us again next week when we'll try and do a better job. Yeah, right. I'm Randy Snow.
And I'm Adam Snow, and we want to thank our buddy Trey again
for
his
Trey.
IFL expertise.
Yep.
So go over, check out his stuff, guys. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed with the stuff he gets out there, and the players and personalities he gets to interview over on his podcast is fantastic.
Yep.
And apparently, when he gets an interview, the next week, the guy goes off. Malik Honeycutt had like 5 touchdown catches this last weekend after his interview with Trey. So,
you're calling it the...
we called it the off-the-wall bump. It's pretty good.
The last person I heard that had a bump like that was Weird Al Yankovic. Whenever he would do a song about somebody, they immediately, that artist got a bump in record sales.
That's where I thought the reference came from.
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
All right. That's it for this week. See you all again next week.
Dare to be stupid, everybody.
We are.
Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this installment of This Week in the World of Football. New episodes of the podcast are posted every Tuesday and can be found wherever good podcasts are found. You can find the World of Football on Facebook, Instagram, and X by searching for TWOF Kalamazoo or using the links down in the episode description. Head on over to YouTube and subscribe to the World of Football for more fun football-related content. Just search for the World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle @the World of Football. Thanks for listening and hope to see you again next time.